Did you know that coping with a physical illness tends to be more difficult the more someone suppresses their emotional expression? Hi, my name is Bianca and I'm so happy you're here today. In this video, we're diving into a very popular question in the junk journal community. What do you actually do with a journal? What's the purpose of a journal? What can you write in it? What can you use it for? And maybe even more importantly, how do you stay motivated and inspired? What kinds of things can you capture and reflect on in a journal? I've looked at this question from a health psychology perspective as well, and today I'd love to share my insights with you. So let's start with the fact that expressive or emotional writing has been widely studied and shown to have a positive effect on mental health and even beneficial effects on the immune system. This brings us back to the statement I mentioned earlier. Coping with a physical illness becomes more difficult the more someone suppresses their emotional expression. In other words, if you're not really able to give your emotions space or express what you're feeling, it can negatively impact your health. Emotional writing in a journal where you have plenty of space to freely explore your thoughts, document your day, and especially capture your emotions doesn't just serve as a form of emotional relief. It also helps you integrate your emotions and thoughts by shaping them into a coherent, meaningful story. So let me put that in simpler terms. If you use a journal to write down your emotional state in a way that makes sense to you, maybe in a chronological order, maybe as a story, or however you can best give your emotions space, it can have a positive effect on your well-being. Let me add another important point. Optimism promotes positive emotions, and those positive emotions benefit your mental health. The good news is that optimism and positive thinking can actually be trained. We can actively strengthen both optimism and emotional expression through simple exercises, and I'd like to share a few of them with you. The first one is called Hunt the Good Stuff. As the name suggests, it means actively looking for the positive things in your day. Every evening before going to bed, take your journal and write down 3 things that went well that day. These can be very simple things. Maybe you didn't have to wait long at the checkout. Maybe someone smiled at you. Maybe you were able to stick to your schedule. Or maybe you found 10 quiet minutes just to breathe and be with yourself. Even if it feels small or ordinary, choose something that felt good or meaningful to you that day and write it down. 3 things every evening before going to bed. By doing this, you close your day with a more positive mindset and gradually build optimism and positive emotions before you say goodbye to the day. The second exercise is mindfulness. Mindfulness means consciously noticing the present moment. It's about pausing for a second instead of rushing through the day, taking a deep breath, paying attention to your surroundings, and also tuning into your inner state, how you're feeling right now. For example, if you're outside and feeling completely stressed, maybe it's been a busy day, you still need to go grocery shopping, you still have a long to-do list, just pause for a moment. Look around you. Maybe you suddenly notice the birds singing. Maybe you catch a pleasant scent in the air. Maybe you hear the wind moving through the trees, or you become aware of your heartbeat. And in that moment, you can tell yourself, I don't have to be so driven right now. I can pause. I can breathe. I can let my heart rate settle and simply be present. You can also write this down in your journal. What did I consciously notice today? What was I truly mindful about? Here's a small tip and trick if mindfulness feels difficult at first. Follow this simple step-by-step guide. Notice, describe, and participate. Notice, you're in the situation and you consciously notice it. You stay open to what's happening in this moment. Describe. You describe what's happening. And this part is really important without judgment. You don't say this is bad and you also don't say this is amazing. You simply observe and put it into words what's going on. Participate. You take part in the situation, but without trying to change it right away. You stay present, you stay engaged, but you don't force anything to be different. You just allow it to be. This approach also helps build stress tolerance and supports the mindset of I'm having an emotion, but I am not the emotion. And that in turn can foster optimism and positive emotion. And very important part of noticing, describing, and participating is using your journal in the evening to reflect on different possible interpretations of a situation. We're often very quick to jump to conclusions. For example, if a friend cancels on you, your first thought might be, he doesn't like me, he stood me up, I'm angry, that was unfair. But instead of immediately reacting with negative emotions, you can pause and apply the steps. Notice, describe, participate. Take a moment to reflect. Maybe something unexpected came up. Maybe you had an important appointment. Maybe there is a completely rational explanation, without it meaning anything negative about you. Journaling helps you become aware of these automatic interpretations. It allows you to step back, consider alternative perspectives, and regulate your emotional response. And through that awareness, you strengthen optimism, foster more positive emotions, and improve your ability to cope with and express your feelings in a healthy way. So that's it for the psychological background, and now let's look at the different ways you can actually journal. Your journal itself can already help you remember things, stay motivated, and feel inspired to write. It can give you creative prompts just by the way you designed it. Let me give you an example. Depending on how you've decorated your journal, the inspiration will look different. And that's where creativity comes in. For instance, this lace detail here reminds me of an old tea set and cozy afternoons with friends. That could inspire you to write something like, I went out for coffee with my best friend today, or we had cake together, or it was my birthday, because you think of a beautiful decorated table. Your journal can actively guide you toward topics. The colors, textures, and elements you've included can spark memories and ideas, helping you discover what you want to write about. Here's another example. Even though I didn't specifically mark this page, this little bag could represent a shopping bag, a goodie bag, or something you received at an event. You could use the space inside to write about that experience, maybe something small that made you smile that day. And this element here really reminds me of nature. Maybe you went for a beautiful walk at the woods, spent time outside, did some exercise, or simply enjoyed the sunshine. And that alone made you feel grateful. That connects again to the hunt the good stuff exercise. What was I grateful for today? And one last example, something like this little hidden space. You can't immediately see what's inside. That makes it perfect for something more private or meaningful. Maybe a personal conversation you had with a friend, a realization you gained, or an important life insight that really touched you. Something so meaningful that you want to capture it and protect it so it won't get lost. Your journal can hold all of that. The everyday moments, the gratitude, the memories, and even the quiet hidden thoughts that matter most to you. And that's exactly how your journal helps you journal. It inspires you to write simply through the way you've designed your pages. For example, something golden on a page might remind you of a gold leaf on a pastry, a beautiful piece of jewelry, or a special gift. Let your journal spark those associations. Follow the exercise like hunt the good stuff and mindfulness, and actively practice expressing your emotions in a conscious, expressive way. But journaling doesn't have to mean writing a classic diary entry or daily affirmations. It can be much more flexible than that. You could create a travel journal, for example, like this one here, where I simply capture my trips in short bullet points. Like hike toward the harbor, smoothie break, submarine tour. Sometimes that's already enough, especially if you add flyers, tickets, and photos to go along with it. Your journal can be as detailed or as simple as you want it to be. The most important thing is that it feels meaningful to you. For example, here we visited a wildlife and adventure park, and I simply collected brochures and little keepsakes from the trip. That too can be a form of journaling. So I hope this video was helpful for you. I hope you learned something new and now have a clearer idea of how you can use your journal, whether to gain the scientifically supported positive effects on your mental health and your physical health, or simply to record what you did during the day, like a diary or even just to create a travel journal. You can really make it your own. So I hope this video inspired you and gave you some ideas. If it helped you, feel free to let me know in the comments, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.